he was reminded of what a strange world he had entered, one where people sometimes felt the need to give themselves amnesia in order to forget dangerous truths. Mr. Y nodded at Mr. X, who held out his wand and said,
I freely consent to the obliviation of my memories of all events that occur, all statements made, and all memories observed in this room for the next hour. So mote it be.
Mr. X's wand glowed softly for a second. Mr. Y then moved behind Mr. X so that neither Harry nor Artie could see his wand movements, and he said an incantation too soft for Harry to hear. A violet light briefly shone from Mr. X's eyes, and Mr. Y nodded to Artie that the spell had taken hold properly.
Okay, Harry, if you get done early, pull that cord on the wall to ring the bell downstairs. Otherwise, we'll be back in an hour.
The two men left, and Mr. X gestured for Harry to sit at the table across from him.
Before we begin, Mr. Potter, what training have you had? A tutor or just books? Just books. I've read all of Most Hidden Art and the first few chapters of Pathways of the Mind. That one's kind of hard to understand. It's also kind of illegal to own, so don't get caught with it. There are no criminal penalties, but the fine is several thousand galleons, and you'll be on a ministry watch list for the rest of your life.
Harry gulped and nodded at the other man.
What the hell kind of Christmas present did Blaze give me?
He thought to himself.
Now then, having read Most Hidden Art, I assume you understand the basic principle of clearing the mind. In the abstract, but none of the examples in the book really seem to get the point across. Unsurprising, I suppose, it is a very old and traditional text. Aegis Mentalis explains the principles involved in a more approachable manner if you can find a copy of that, but it too is banned by the ministry. To greatly oversimplify things, clearing your mind means achieving a state in which you have no conscious thoughts at all so that an intruding legilimens has nothing to hang onto and use as a frame of reference for further intrusion. A true thoughtless state is extremely difficult to maintain unless you undertake an intensive study of Zen meditation or something similar. But such is not truly necessary to maintain reliable occlumency shields capable of resisting legilimency. All that is required is that you be able to sense an intruding mind and then reflexively suppress all thought, thus expelling the intruder. Now let's try a simple approach. Can you think of any repetitive activity you have engaged in for long periods of time? Neither a pleasant one nor an unpleasant one, but merely one where you are likely to lose track of time.
Harry thought for a moment and recalled seeing Petunia's pitiful attempts at gardening earlier.
My relatives used to make me do all their gardening all summer long. Weeding is like that, boring but not unpleasant. A few times I was surprised at how long I'd spent pulling weeds out from among the rose bushes after zoning out.
Mr. X nodded.
Good, let us start with that. I will attempt to read your memories. You will hopefully recognize my efforts when you start to think about things that are not germane to our present circumstance. Understand that I will, for the time being, be extremely obvious in my efforts. A skilled legilimens can subtly guide your thoughts so that you will recall the memories he wishes to see without you noticing anything is amiss. Our goal for future sessions is for you to become able to sense intrusions with increasing subtlety. Also, I will be using both wand and incantation today. Be advised that a 5th level adept at legilimency can work the magic both wandlessly and wordlessly, so you must ever be on your guard whenever someone you do not trust makes eye contact with you.
Harry nodded. Privately, he wondered how long it would take him to become insanely paranoid, and whether that was, in fact, the natural state of an occlumens. Now, as soon as you realize that you are thinking of things you do not wish to think about, focus your mind on that sensation of thoughtlessness you feel when deeply immersed in your gardening. I apologize in advance, but in order to most effectively evaluate you, I most focus on the memories that you find most traumatic, most painful, or most private. It is for that reason that I have agreed to obliviation at the conclusion of this session. Now, legilimens. Harry was startled by Mr. X's tone of voice when he barked out the incantation. For some reason, it reminded him of how Vernon Dursley shouted at him when he'd been 6 years old and had accidentally spilled bacon grease on Vernon's shirt. The wretched muggle had been furious. He'd grabbed Harry by the arm and yanked him towards his cupboard so forcefully that there was a loud snap, followed by a scream of agony from the boy. To this day, he could still clearly recall the pain of a broken arm. Vernon and Petunia argued for several minutes about whether it was necessary to take Harry to the emergency room or not, with Vernon inclined to just throw him in the cupboard and see how he looked after a few days. Petunia, however, Harry inhaled sharply.
Why am I thinking about that?
As he continued to look into Mr. X's eyes, he was astonished and frightened to realize how powerful legilimency was when he didn't have the option of just avoiding eye contact. He took a slower breath and then focused his mind on the peace and serenity he felt when he was immersed in his gardening. It took him a minute or so to reliably focus on the gardening sensation, during which time he faltered repeatedly as Mr. X caused him to remember painful or unpleasant memories of Petunia shouting at him over his gardening efforts. Memories which then led inexorably to even worse memories before Harry realized what was happening and redoubled his efforts to keep Mr. X out. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity but was actually less than 10 minutes, Mr. X waved his wand in front of Harry's face and ended the spell.
All right, first the good news. While it took you several minutes to realize that I was actively drawing out the memory of when your uncle broke your arm, on my subsequent attempts, you reacted much more readily. You were able to establish a clear mind relatively quickly, and by the end were able to maintain it for a full minute, resisting all my attempts to read you during that time. And the bad news. What you just experienced was my absolute lowest level of mental power, and I was deliberately targeting memories that you would normally suppress, which only made it easier to resist me. Had I applied my full power, you would not have been able to block me at all, and had I exercised any degree of discretion, you would likely never have even noticed my presence.
Oh,
Said Harry somewhat dejectedly. Do not give up though, Mr. Potter. I am, after all, a 7th level adept at legilimency, and you are not likely to encounter many legilimens with my skill. I definitely think you have potential as an occlumens. Unfortunately, save for the rare prodigy, occlumency is simply something that takes time and effort, usually years of both. To have come as far as you have before reaching the age of 12 is quite an achievement and a testament to your dedication. Now let us try again. Legilimens. With that, the lesson continued for another 40 minutes, at the end of which Mr. X provided Harry with a headache relief potion. He then went over a number of mental exercises that he wanted Harry to practice several times a day for the next 2 weeks, after which they would meet again.
2 final matters, Mr. Potter. First, are you aware of the fact that you have several gaps in your memory, not obliviations, as I suspect you still retain access to the memories in question. Rather, they are all very high-level memory blocks designed to obscure the memories from legilimency. All of them seem to start when you enter a particular corridor in your dormitory, and which end as you exit it into the common room.
Harry stiffened. Mr. X was talking about the prince's lair.
Yes, Mr. X, I am aware of those blocks. They're not something you need to worry about. I see, very well. Secondly, I have a favor to ask.
Mr. X suddenly looked down at his hands, which were tightly folded on the table. It was the first bit of real emotion the man had shown all afternoon.
From your memories, I now know that he who must not be named survived to some extent the events of 1981, and that he seeks to become fully resurrected.
Harry was quite shocked at Mr. X's words. He hadn't even noticed when those memories were drawn forth.
In a few moments,
Mr. X continued.
That knowledge will be taken from me until such time as you use the restoration phrase to restore my memories. If you ever choose to do so, I ask you.
The man suddenly looked up at Harry with an anguished expression.
No, I beg you, if you ever learn that he is close to bodily resurrection, please, restore my memories of your encounter with him. I have a family, a wife and 2 children. With enough warning, I can get them out of the country if...
Harry interrupted.
How do I set the restoration phrase? You say, Celevarimus, and then whatever word or phrase you wish to use, Mr. Potter. Once set, you can relay it verbally or even in writing, provided you make it clear the message is from you. Celevarimus, Voldemort is back.
Mr. X stiffened as the magic settled over him. Thank you, Mr. Potter.
Thank you, Mr. X.
Moments later, Artie and Mr. Y re-entered and Mr. X rose. My work here is done. We will meet again in 2 weeks' time. He nodded at Mr. Y, who pulled out his wand and cast the second part of the memory block charm. Mr. X looked around in confusion for a few seconds. Then he pulled out a pocket watch and checked the time. He shook his head. That will never not be disturbing to me. Until next time, gentlemen. With that, Mr. X and Mr. Y left. Harry sat back down with a thoughtful look on his face.
Any problems, Harry?
Asked Artie.
Not with the lesson, Artie.
He hesitated.
Are you an occlumenz, one good enough to keep my secrets? I've had occlumency training. I'm probably close to being a 4th level adept, but it doesn't matter for your secrets because I swore the solicitor's oath to you. I can't help you conceal a crime and am duty-bound to inform the authorities if you tell me you're planning to commit one. Other than that, anything you tell me is covered by magical client confidentiality and can't be revealed by legilimency or veritaserum. So what's on your mind?
Harry considered whether to reveal to the man that Voldemort lived. Finally, he decided that he was not ready to reveal that, not even to his solicitor. But there were other steps he could take. How much is a pensive, Artie? I have some personal memories that I'd like to leave with you. Memories I want locked away unless I tell you to review them or unless something happens to me. Can we do that? Artie's eyes shot up in surprise.
Of course, and you don't even need to buy a pensive. The goblins came through with the asset list and you already own one. A good one, complete with a shrinking enchantment so it's easy to transport. I'll get it from the vault and have it for you by next week. You can copy the memories you want then and I'll put them in a safe place. Thanks, Artie.
Harry looked at his watch.
It's late, I'd better get home. You and me both, Harry. Elizabeth always has a fit when I work through dinner. She'd be even worse if she knew work consisted of sitting downstairs having a few pints with Mr. Y while we waited for you to finish your session.
Harry laughed. So I'm starting one training with this Tonks person on Saturday morning, right? Where are we meeting? Artie pulled out some parchment and jotted down the address to a building further down Diagon Alley, which was home to a local dueling club. There was a large room with magically reinforced walls that could resist damaging spellfire. Harry smiled. Damaging spellfire was one of his favorite phrases. 4 July 1992, by 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, Harry had changed his mind and decided that damaging spellfire was actually one of his least favorite phrases, a conclusion he reached while lying flat on his back in the dueling room and wondering if any parts of him were still on fire. He'd arrived at that morning at 10:00 as per Artie's arrangements. Tonks seemed very serious at first, mainly because it was her first teaching experience, and like most Hufflepuffs, she was earnest and conscientious to a fault. Accordingly, the first 2 hours were spent on nothing but healing and shielding spells, with a particular emphasis on Renervate, Episci, and Protego. This was after she presented Harry with an emergency portkey to St. Mungo's that she'd insisted Artie provide, in case anything went really bad. At noon, Harry treated Tonks to lunch at the Leaky Cauldron,